Hi guys, so we're still dividing and simplifying radicals here. Now the only difference here is that we're going to do something that we call rationalizing, okay? So to rationalize, why do we do that? Is because we have a radical at the denominator of your function or your expression here or your fraction here, and we do not want to leave the radical at the bottom of the fraction. We don't, because in math, most of the time we just don't leave it. We just don't leave it there. Okay? So, but how do we account for that? So, because we want to get rid of the radical, we want to cancel or eliminate the radical, we will multiply then both the top and the bottom, so it's 5 square root of 7, times square root of 7 on the top and square root of 7 at the bottom. So both top and bottom, we're going to multiply them by square root of 7. And what are we going to get? So when we multiply straight across, 5 times square root of 7, ladies and gentlemen, the common mistake that people will make in this problem here on the top is to take 5 and multiply by 7. No, 5 is a whole number here by itself, and then the constant or the coefficient, and then square root of 7 is square root of 7 under the radical. So you cannot multiply the two of them together. All right? So what's going to happen is this is going to be 5 square root of 7 over, all right? Then 7 times 7 is square root of 49 because 7 times 7 is 9. Now in this case you can because both of them have the same radical. Okay? So then you end up with 5 square root of 7 over what is square root of 49? 7. Now, as you note this now, if you want to go a little faster, as you multiplying square root of 7 times square root of 7 because it's the same number under the radical, you already know that you're going to end up with 7 without the radical. Okay? And that's what we want because we do not want a radical at the bottom of the fraction. So that means we obtain what we wanted. All right? So let's go now. So we have square root of 25 over 2. So how are we going to do this one here? So for this problem here, 27 cannot divide 2 evenly. All right? You cannot do that. So it's going to give you a decimal number, which is 12.5. But in any case, so the best thing to do is to separate both of them. So we have square root of 25 over square root of 2. And what did you say about having a radical square root at the bottom of the fraction? We do not want it. Okay? To do that, that's what we call rationalizing. All right? Now, when we look at the problem here, square root of 25 is 5. So we can already also work on that. So it's going to be 5 over square root of 2. And then what we're going to do, we'll multiply top and bottom by the same thing, which is square root of 2 times square root of 2. And then we go straight across as well. And then in this case, like we said before, 5 is multiplied square root of 2, but you cannot do 5 times 2 to give you 10. Impossible. So what we're going to do is this is going to be 5 square root of 2 because 5 is a whole number that stays outside the radical, and then 2 is under the radical, then it stays there. And then square root of 2 times square root of 2 also, like how we did it before over here, that will give us what? Just 2 underneath, or 2 by 2 is 4. And then afterwards, that will give us 2 underneath here. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we want. But we cannot simplify also square root of 2 over 2 because that will be the common mistake that some people will make. And that is definitely wrong. So you cannot simplify square root of 2 and 2. You can't because this one is square root of 2. And then this one is just 2. Okay? 2 different numbers. Now, let's take question number 3 here. Square root of 14 over a over square root of 2y. So how can we account for this one here? As we see the problem like this, we see that 14 and 2 can divide, 2 can divide into 14. So you can think about putting them together and then dividing, all right? So you could do that. So that would give us what? That would give us 14a over 2y. You put them under the radical. So you end up with what? 2 goes into 14 7 times. So you end up with 7a over y under square root. Now, what can we do here? We have to split both of them, right? So we end up with this is equal to square root of 7a over square root of y, okay? And then, like we said before, we cannot leave a radical underneath the fraction, so we have to rationalize. So to rationalize that, so we take square root of 7a over square root of y, then multiply top and the bottom by the same thing. Okay? And then what's going to happen? Straight across. We know that this is under the radical. This also is under the radical. And both of them carry the same radical, which is square root. So we can multiply them top by top. So that means we end up with 7ay over. So at the bottom here, sorry, this is square root of y. Do not forget about that. Careful. And then y times y, because that's the square root, that will give us y. Okay? If we go a little faster here, and that'll be your final answer. Okay? Then we take square root. The next question is square root of 5x over square root of 10y. So the same thing that we did before over there. So we can put them together. 10y. And the reason why we put them together is because we know that 5 and 10 can be simplified. Because 5 can go into 5 once and can go into 10 twice. So if it is so, what do we get? We get square root of then x over 2y. And this is equal to what? So we have a fraction, over here with a denominator that we have that will carry a square root. We don't want that. Remember that? So we can split it. And then what do? We multiply the top and the bottom by square root of 2, square root of 2. And then we end up with what? So x times 2y, because these two we can multiply inside the radical. So that will give you square root of 2xy over, and this one, because again, it's the same items underneath the radical, so we can just get rid of the radical, and then we only have 2y left. And we can never simplify y and y because this y is under the radical and this one is not under the radical. So over here also we are just finished with this problem here. So you guys can see, you go back, do it again, take your time, okay? This is a place where you can get whatever you have not gotten before, okay? When it comes to these concepts, take your time, look at them, and if you still have a problem, chat with me, okay? Let's see what we can do together. All right? And also, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment, over our YouTube channel here. We need you to make this group, so that everybody else can benefit from what we're doing here. Okay?